At 20 years old, I heard words that most people will never hear in their lifetime. And I knew I was never going home. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today's video is going to be about when I got sentenced, when I got convicted, when it all set in. For those of you that don't know my story, at 19 years old, I was picked up for a homicide. I was convicted and sentenced to prison for the term of 20 to life for second-degree murder. I have to be completely honest. When they put the handcuffs on me, when they arrested me, I knew then and there I was never going to get out. I wasn't going to beat the case, and I was going to die in prison. Did a part of me hope that was not true? I'm sure there was a part of me that wanted that to be the case. But when you get convicted, when you're living that lifestyle and you get arrested for that type of case, the last thing you want to do is have any hope. So I entered the county jail for the first time at 19. I was there with my homeboys from my neighborhood, rivals, and I began doing my time. I have to say again, I was resigned to the fact those jail walls, those jail cells, those are going to be my life. I never once showed, let me say this. I knew that I was going to be representing my neighborhood and that I wasn't going to make it look bad. I wasn't going to show emotions. I wasn't going to show any signs of the case getting to me. And I have to say that when I was initially arrested, I was indicted by the grand jury. And I was charged with the special circumstances of lying in wait, which carried life without the possibility of parole, as well as a death penalty. And I was right there with everybody else in the county. Just one of the guys. The guy's doing a 90-day dry out. And then me and other guys fighting capital cases. I acted just like them. And I remember some guys asking me like, man, Holmes, how can you do that? Like, you're facing that much time. And you're laughing and you're smiling, you're joking around. And I remember saying, what can I do? All I can do is this time. I can't do nothing else. When I got to prison, I heard this dry joke, this evil joke. It's not really a joke. It's more of a statement, but it's considered a joke in there. There's a guy that gets sentenced to life in prison, and he screams out to the judge, Your Honor, but I can't do life. And the judge looks back at him and says, do what you can, son. Do what you can. That's what happens when guys get sent to prison, especially with a life sentence. Guys do what they can. Some guys die of old age. Some guys die from overdoses. Some guys die doing a hit. But for a long time, everyone just died. You were going to die either in your cell, you were going to die on the yard, in the chow hall, somewhere within those walls. See, when I got sent to the California Department of Corrections, nobody went home. If you count a life sentence in California back then, That was just a slow death penalty. You were going to live in there until you died. You weren't going to get out. There was no rehabilitation. There was nobody that was going to feel sorry for you. There was nobody that was going to baby you. It didn't matter if you were 18 or 91. You were expected to be in line with the program. When I got arrested, my fiance at the time was 8 weeks pregnant with my first and only child. I remember when she came to visit me, very first visit, one of the first questions she asked me was, when you were chasing him down, did you think of me and the baby even for a second? And without any hesitation, I said no. I was somebody, when I was arrested for that homicide at 19 years old, I was somebody who belonged in prison. No doubt about it. Had I beat that case, I would have committed more acts of violence, putting my neighborhood, my gang, my barrio ahead of my last name, my freedom, my well-being, or my loved ones. I was such a different person back then. I didn't value my life. So there was no way I was going to value anyone who I felt got in my way. I gave the California Department of Corrections 24 years. Luckily for me, there came a point during my incarceration. I'll tell you, the first big one was in 2000, June of 2000. A few months after we had the big riot in Pelican Bay. I was on B facility where the riot happened. And in June, I got the news that my mom had taken her own life. And I knew what it was. My mom knew that her son was a knucklehead. My mom knew that I was going to place myself in harm's way at every opportunity. And it was too much for her to bear with. She didn't want the call that I had been taken out. I had died. And so to alleviate that worry, to get away from that depression, she did what she felt she had to do. And I remember getting that call and walking back to my cell. And I've told this story. On the way back to my cell, the CO that was escorting me was a good dude. And he told me, sit down right here. And I sat down on the concrete bench. There's no wooden benches in Pelican Bay or any other prison in California. I sat on that concrete picnic table. Keep in mind, this was just a few months after the big riot. The yard itself was still an active crime scene. There were still raincoats and ripped clothing on the yard full of blood. You could still look around and see where the bullets had hit the dirt. And there I was, sitting on a concrete picnic table, side by side with a CO. And I was bawling, crying. And the CO looked at me and he said, my heart hurts for you. And I looked at him and I saw the humanity in his eyes. And I knew that once I went back into the housing unit, I would never see that type of humanity in anyone's eyes that I was doing time with. I wish I could say that that moment made me reevaluate myself and want to change for the better. The truth is, it made me reevaluate myself and get deeper into the nonsense, the evil ways of prison. I was hurting, and I wanted to mask that hurt, bury that hurt by doing hateful acts against other violent men. Years later, it hit me. The problem is me. I was at fault for every single thing that had gone wrong in my life. All of my poor decisions led to my incarceration starting at the age of 13. By the age of 15, I was doing state time. Got out after doing 3 years in juvenile state system. I got out for 5 months and then gave the state another 24 years straight. Thousands and thousands of lifers, ex-lifers, guys that had life have been released from prison thanks to the Anti-Recidivism Coalition and their push to change a lot of the stuff that was going on in California. And I can tell you right now, if you're wondering, myself, as well as every other lifer that's on the streets, the thousands of us that are out here, if you ask us, do you think you deserve to be out? Every one of us will tell you, no, we don't. It's by the grace of God that we were given a second chance. And that's why we remain out here. We're not perfect. Far from it. We're flawed. But we learned a lesson. We value life. We value our surroundings, the beauty of this world, probably more than most. Because we had given up on it. But somehow, some way, it was given back to us. I know that there are people that'll watch this video and they'll say, how is it that you, as a convicted murderer, were released back into society and your victim never even got to go home that night? That's something that each one of us has to live with. That's a question we can't answer. But I try to be good to everyone I meet. I try to be respectful in all of my interactions. And in that small way, I hope that I'm honoring every one of my victims. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.